Hey guys, the Explorer of Horror here, the Horror Boy. Welcome back to some more reviews, and decided to take some time off from doing movie reviews for a minute. Had a loss recently. Somebody in my family had passed away. It was a very sad thing, and been kind of recuperating from that, recovering from that, and just trying to stay positive and stay strong, and know that I love this person very much and that they're in a better place. And I want to say rest in peace to that person who passed away. It's been a very hard time recently, just trying to get back in the swing of things. And yeah, it's been that's why I've been away. Decided to take some time off for that. But now that I'm getting back into some more movie reviews, I wanted to cover some more summer-themed films. This is why I covered Jurassic Park, and I still have one more movie to review from that series, which I'll get to eventually. But I've been watching these movies recently, and I wanted to give them their reviews because I don't think I've ever discussed these movies on my channel before. And I want to discuss the Jaws films eventually. Well, the sequels eventually. Today we're talking about the first film, Jaws. Now, this review might not be tremendously long because this is a classic. I mean, I honestly can't do this film justice. I mean, there have been reviewers upon critics for decades who've been praising Jaws. It scared people back in the 70s. It scared people back when I was a kid, and it still scares people to this day. This movie still is felt. People are generally afraid to go swimming in the beach because of this movie. So it's a film that has a very big impact. And as far as the sequels go, I do have this sequel DVD set. It was very, very cheap, about $5, $4, something like that. Hell, it might have been $3. It was a very, very cheap set, but it does give me all the sequels, and that's really all I needed for the sequels, just a DVD set. However, when I get to these movie reviews, you'll notice that I have another version of those films, 2, 3, and 4. So I'll show you guys those when I get to those reviews. But yeah, I gotta rewatch these sequels again. Hopefully I can get to that soon and get these reviews out there. Because like I said, it's a good time. It's the summertime right now. I want to get some summer-related movie reviews out there. I already did a Friday the 13th related video. I'm gonna try and get some more maybe slasher films in the summer, or summer horror films, something like that. But Jaws from 1975 gets an 8.0 on IMDb, rated by Steven Spielberg. Now, Steven Spielberg is one of my favorite directors of all time. I haven't seen every single film from him. I know he did, believe it or not, I've never seen E.T. all the way through. I watched it, but I don't remember ever finishing E.T. Not a bad movie, I just never finished the film. But I do remember watching E.T. a long time ago. But I've actually never watched an Indiana Jones film. So yeah, never seen that franchise before. But hopefully one day I can watch those movies. But yeah, I do love Jurassic Park. I like Lost World Jurassic Park. I do like some of his other films he's made. I know he was also involved with Poltergeist and a Twilight Zone movie. So Steven Spielberg is a great director. I know he was very, very young when he made this movie. He was 26, 27 years old when he made this. And this movie's infamy is just something that lives on. And that the film lives on, the backstory behind the film lives on, how it was made lives on. It's a film that the legacy of it will never die. It will never fade. It will always be known. It's Jaws, it's like Halloween. It's Chainsaw Massacre, and Exorcist. There are these key films from the 70s that, for me, I feel will never go away because they're just so ingrained in the pop culture. I mean, there are lines from this movie, the poster of this movie. There are certain scenes from this movie and characters from this movie that get parodied or get, redone in other posters and other movies. So it's a very infamous film. It's a film that I think will live on for good reason. It's in my top 50 favorite horror films list. I did that top 50 thing a long time ago, and I want to edit those videos one day and kind of edit them down into more of a less, take out all the flubber stuff, all the stuff I'm talking about the movies, and I want to release a special edition of those videos someday. Just put the whole list together, release the whole thing, the edited version, and just have clips and pictures. I do hope one day to do that. But this movie story, you have this local community. I believe it's a New York community. I forgot what the town is called. Amity Island. Amity Island. It's this island off the side of New York. And it's this community. They're being taunted and tortured by this shark. It's eating people. It's killing people. The mayor doesn't want to shut the town down or shut the beach down at all. They want to keep the beaches open. But of course, the longer they keep the beaches open, the more victims the sharks get. So, well, the shark gets. There's only one shark, so the longer they keep the beach open, the more people die. And you have Roy Scheider playing the sheriff character, who is trying to figure out how to convince the mayor to actually shut this beach down and trying to figure out what to do. You also got Robert Shaw, and you also got Richard Dreyfuss. Now, Robert Shaw is I want to say, a marine biologist or something like that. He's from a university. He comes to help out the sheriff character. And Richard Dreyfuss is this fisherman who survived this attack from sharks years ago. So the story is very basic. I mean, it's a film that, like I said, this review won't be too long, but it's a film that I absolutely love, and I still think is one of the best horror films out there to this day. As far as this DVD goes, it's a decent DVD. I mean, this DVD could have a little bit more to it. As far as the quality of the film, it's a very grainy quality, very grainy audio, so maybe one day Blu-ray, we'll see how it goes. It is a 2-disc set. Does have some features. It has a documentary, 2-hour documentary, has archive footage, featurettes. So it does have some decent features, but I would honestly expect like a franchise, like something to do the franchise. Because this DVD over here, oh, it does have making of. It has making of Jaws 2, Jaws 3, John Williams interview for Jaws 2. Jaws 4 has no features on that, but I guess does have features. But I'm surprised they never made one of those, like Crystal Lake Memories has the 5-hour long. I'm not saying it has to be 5 hours long, but where it's a documentary that goes through every single film in the franchise. I'm surprised they haven't done that. I will say though, those come with this cool looking booklet. I do like that. It's this awesome booklet, just pictures from the film. Like there, you've got some pictures of the shark and certain scenes. Basically, it goes through how the movie was made and the backstory. And I mean, this backstory is infamous. And it opens up with this quote from Spielberg that I want to read real quick. It says, "When I first hear the word Jaws, I just think of a period of my life when I was much younger than I am right now. And I think because I was younger, I was more courageous, or I was more stupid. I'm not sure which. So when I think of Jaws, I think about courage and stupidity. I think of both of those things existing underwater." It's a great quote. I mean, this described the time where Steven Spielberg was a very young guy, had tremendous pressure to make this movie, because this film was a film that had a pretty decent sized budget behind it, had a decent sized studio behind it, and he was entrusted to do certain like scenes with technology that hadn't been done yet. I mean, they had never done underwater stuff like that before. You know, it was nearly impossible back in the day to do underwater, animatronics and do underwater, creature effects. It was nearly impossible. So, for the fact that this is one of the first movies to have a submerged animatronic and actually use that at the end of the film. Of course, everybody knows the infamous story of the shark isn't working, still isn't working. It's one of those stories where it actually ended up, in a way, being a good thing for the film. The shark didn't work. Because I think a lot of the film's scares and thrills and suspense come from the fact that you don't see the shark. Most of it is POV. You don't see the shark really that much in this film. You don't really see a lot of the attacks. You see like the blood and the aftermaths and stuff, but when you do see the attacks, the few times you do, it's very brutal. For a PG movie, this is pretty bloody. But yeah, like, I think the idea of having it be POV and the buildup of the shark, when I first seen this movie, it was very suspenseful. And when you do see the shark, it's a big surprise. And, you know, the backstory, how it was a very hard movie to make. It was going through its budget. There was times where they couldn't get certain shots because back in the day, they were going out on real boats and shooting this out in the ocean. Like, this was no blue screen, green screen, background matte paint. This was none of that. This was actually going out, shooting these sequences on a real boat. And having all this stuff happen with no CGI, no green screen, is very, very, very impressive. I think Spielberg here does an amazing job of utilizing the things that he has. And, you know, back then you didn't have animatronics underwater. You know, you didn't have all the stuff that was happening. And it's just really amazing to see that they were able to pull off certain things in this movie that they did. So as far as positives go, I mean, this film is very well directed by Steven Spielberg. Has a wonderful atmosphere. The Amitytown is very alive, and the conversations, you know, when will I be an islander? If you weren't born here, you're not an islander. It's like, oh man, I want to be an islander. It's a great dialogue there. And I gotta get to the car. Talking about how the accent, gotta get the accent right. So the dialogue is very natural. The characters are very likable. The effects are amazing. I don't get why people diss the shark. The shark effects in this movie look amazing to me. And I think they look great. They don't really age to me. They look amazing. It's practical, and it is intimidating because it's a real. The thing about it being real is that you're seeing the size of this shark, and it biting down. And when you see Richard Dreyfuss' character get eaten, and he's screaming, and blood coming out, no music, just a very to the point kill. It is shocking and disturbing. It is very well done. So I like the effects. I like how it's PG, but it's still got an edge to it. The music by John Williams. John Williams is a brilliant composer. The music here is beautiful and well done. And when the shark is around, it's got that very classic dun 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 dun. Adds a lot of suspense to those scenes. The acting is superb by Roy Scheider, Robert Shaw, Richard Dreyfuss. I also think that the wife was a good actress too. I know that she was married to the head of Universal at the time, Lorraine Gary, who stars in Part 4. I think she comes back in Jaws 2 as well. But Lorraine Gary did a good job, and I don't think she ever did a bad job acting-wise in these movies. Even in Jaws Revenge, it was just... I think there wasn't much for her character to do in Jaws Revenge, which we'll get to that when we get to that review. But yeah, Jaws is a classic. For me, if I only had any issue with the movie... There's probably only one issue for me, and it's probably the one that maybe most people would have with this movie, is that it's a very, very slow movie. It's a very spaced apart movie. For me, it really comes alive halfway through the film. At the halfway point is when I just fall in love with it. Before that point, I also really do love it, but it is a bit slow. So that's probably the only issue for me. It's a small little thing. Not even really a problem. It's just that at times it does have some pacing issues. But the end of the movie pays off great, so it is a good payoff. But yeah, great movie. Easily a 9 out of 10 for me. 9.5 out of 10. Somewhere around that range. Jaws is a classic for a reason. And I can't argue with people that say it's a classic. It is. It's a wonderful film. It's a masterpiece. But anyways, guys, thanks so much for watching my review on Jaws. Let me know your guys' thoughts on this film in the comments below. Thanks so much for watching. I'll catch you guys later. Explorer 4 is out. Have a good night. And you thought it was safe to go back in the water. I'll see you guys for my review of Jaws 2. Peace.